everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody who are joining today's session. Another Saturday, another Fabric Coffee session, and of course, another guest speaker. My name is Tina, and I'm the community admin of Microsoft Fabric Cafe. And I'm super excited to be here again with you guys and have you guys here. So, I'm not gonna waste any time, just gonna uh, jump straight into my slide. Let me just add it to the stage. Perfect. So today, September 21st, 2024, 8 a.m. Pacific time. So the ninth session of Fabric Coffee at Microsoft Fabric Cafe. Uh, Javier is going to be our today's guest speaker. So if you guys have any question during the presentation, just put it in the chat box and will be definitely answered by Javier. Don't worry about it. And of course, at the end of the session, we do have riddle and prize. Just make sure, guys, just those answered on, of course, just on StreamYard will be acceptable. So nowhere else. Uh, yeah, perfect. Just let me know. Yeah, I just got a comment from Adrian from Cologne, if I'm not wrong. So just let me know where you're connecting from. So, um, an introduction to the Microsoft Learn community. So everybody knows. Microsoft Learn community is a tech community which you guys can be updated with the latest news and ask questions and connect with a global network of technical subjects. And there is actually a room for Microsoft Learning. There's a link, as you can see, aka.ms/learning rooms. You can go there and choose your room based on your interest, specific language, and actually whatever you need. So, and of course, one of those rooms is your room is called Microsoft Fabric Cafe, which is a Microsoft Learn community. And we try to concentrate on Microsoft Fabric actually, and we put our effort to provide learning and support to Fabric users in every levels, and is a forum for actually everyone to learn, share, and grow skills together. And in our cafe, learning meets fun. So yeah, just make sure. Yeah, I forgot this. Just make sure have your coffee on your table. So as you can see, we have our social platform, YouTube, LinkedIn, Microsoft Learning Room. Just make sure uh, follow them, which is really important for us. So, and actually, there's a code of conduct to keep our community positive, to be actually respectful and having collaboration and embrace the diversity and let's stay professional and act with integrity and stay on topic and avoid spam. And if there's any issue, report them right away. So, and again, thank you for being part of our community. So in September, we've got 4 sessions. So we've already done with 2 of those with John and Sai. So, and today's session is going to be with Javier. Of course, it's going to be another fantastic session. And the last one would be the next week with James. So if you guys want to register that. So actually the registration link is already announced in our LinkedIn page. You can go there and mark your calendar and stay tuned for that one. So without wasting any time, so we have Javier today. So let me just add Javier to the stage. So perfect. Hello, Javier. How are you doing?
Hi, Tina. How are you? Good
Good.
morning to you. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to me to be here today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for making your time and be here with us. Actually, of course, today's gonna be another amazing session, and we learned a lot. So, I'm not gonna waste any time. Just gonna hand it over to you and see what you have for us today. So, I'm just gonna add your slide. I'm gonna be in the backstage, and we'll be
Mhm.
back at the end to answer all the questions that people have. So
All right.
this
Excellent.
is your screen. So the stage is yours. Thank you.
Very good. Thank
Go
you
ahead.
again, Sina. All right. So I'm super glad to be here today in the Microsoft Fabric Cafe. This is actually my first time here. I'm a fabric lover, I'm a coffee lover. So definitely this is the right place to stay today. So the idea is to do an introduction to Microsoft Fabric. Right? Microsoft call it the data analytic platform from the era of AI, and we will try to do an end-to-end presentation of all the component of Fabric, just to we will try to make it fit within an hour, uh, all the components that we may have to see within Fabric, what we can use, how we can use them, and eventually how we can start our first data analytic project in Fabric. Right? A little bit about myself. My name is Javier Villegas. I am from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I'm currently in Geneva, Switzerland this week and the next one, just for work purposes. So here I'm at the hotel room. I work as an IT director at Mediterranean Shipping Company for the last 18 years. I've been involved with SQL Server and the Microsoft Data Platform for around 30 years now. Microsoft MVP in the data platform award category, and also Microsoft certified trainer. Recently, I obtained my certification as Fabric Analytic Engineer Associate. We will have a word about this certification as well, and see eventually uh, how how you can get it. I'm also one of the former Azure Data Community Advisory Council member, and I define myself as a technical speaker. I'm part of a bunch of communities, especially the PAS community, and I'm also one of the organizer of our local community in Buenos Aires, SQL Argentina, and we have our events, our sessions. They are in Spanish, so if you have no problem with the language, feel free to join us. We have a lot of content to share as well. There's also my contact information in the left side of the slide, right? My email address, my X handle, my LinkedIn, and my blog. Feel free to contact me and reach me for any question that you may have related to this presentation. All right, so let's start. Microsoft Fabric, a unified analytic solution for the era of AI. Right? The first few lines here, I will be reading some of them because it's definitely key that we emphasize in some of those words, right? So then during the presentation, we can find out exactly what that means within the Microsoft Fabric solution, right? Unified is an important word to have, right? Analytic solution, of course, and finally, era of artificial intelligence, AI, right? So a little bit of history here. Microsoft has announced Microsoft Fabric as a as a public preview a year and a half ago in May 2023 for the Microsoft Build event. What was that? Well, mainly they announced it and they gave access to everybody as a preview, right? So everybody can jump into it and start testing and validating the platform while providing feedback to Microsoft, right? In the background, they kept improving and getting it ready for what it was in November 2023, almost a year ago, during the Microsoft Ignite event, the presentation as channel availability, right? So it's almost a year that Microsoft Fabric is GA and is available for everybody to use it, right? Then we will see how we can use it, and which are the options that we may have, right? So also on stage for the Ignite, I had the pleasure to be there. There was Arun, which is the corporate vice president of Azure Data, and he mentioned one important phrase that I just wanted to capture and share with you to highlight for this presentation, which is data is the fuel that powers AI, right? So with no data, there's no AI. There are no models to be trained. There's nothing, right? So definitely, data is key for this era of AI. There was also at stage Satya Nadella, the Microsoft CEO, and he also mentioned something super interesting that he believes, and I share this belief, that Microsoft Fabric is the biggest announcement in the data platform area since SQL Server 30 years ago, right? So definitely a key element here to pay attention to. Mm. All right, let's read the first phrase, and then we will make some analysis. Right. So Microsoft Fabric is an end-to-end analytic platform that provides a single integrated environment for data professionals, any data professional, and the business to collaborate on data objects. Right. So end-to-end, when they say end to end, is that we cover everything, right? From one side of the solution till the end. So we need nothing else, right? So everything that we need to do our analytic projects, right, is available within Fabric, right? Provides a single integrated environment for data professionals, right? So we will see that within the same environment, this end-to-end unified environment, we can switch between different kind of projects, right? And we will go through that in a second, right? And more importantly, from the business point of view, we're going to be able to easily collaborate within those projects, sharing the data, right? It's important to mention as well that this is a SaaS solution, right? Software as a service. What does it mean? First of all, everything is available through a Fabric portal, right? A web browser, internet browser, right? Nothing else. We don't need to install any server, any virtual machine, any software, right? As I mentioned earlier, I have around 30 years working with data projects, and I remember back in the days when we had to set up an environment for a data analytic project. We have to, first of all, dimension the servers, setting up the network, the infrastructure behind the scene, installing and configuring all the components, right? And then doing the validation. That for sure takes a lot of money and time, right? Nowadays, with this platform, which is again a SaaS option, in a matter of few minutes, you can set up your data analytics project, make sure that you do your proof of concept, and eventually have your production environment up and running again in a matter of minutes. And one of the parts that I love the most as every single component of the cloud computing is scalability, right? If eventually we need more processing power, more horsepower, right? We can super easily get that power just with this within few clicks, right? So super interesting. So in few minutes we can be ready to roll here. So we have different scopes within Microsoft Fabric, right? Data factory for everything that is related to data ingestion or integration, right? So we're going to see that we will be able to easily connect to bunch of data sources, cloud native, on-premise, you name it, right? Then when we get the data into the solution, right, we may have different kind of projects, like, for example, a traditional data warehouse, right? Also data engineering or data science, in where we may need to use different technology, different skills, right? Real-time analytics to do analytics with large volume of data, for example, events coming in real time from sensors, IoT, etc. Right? And also Power BI to make sure that all the ingestion, the storage, the processing of the data get the power of the I would say the leading solution for business intelligence, which is Power BI, right? So since we reached this point, I would like to make another comment because Microsoft Fabric definitely is a new solution, as we just said, right? But there are certain components, right, that were already available before. So for data ingestion, Microsoft have in Azure Data Factory. For everything that is processing and data analytics is um, Microsoft Synapse Analytics, in where we can set up a dedicated pool, a serverless pool, right? Get the data, use Spark, Scala, R, SQL, etc. And then we also have, from several years ago, Power BI, right? So that was already available. But if we need to do a data project, data analytics project, we had to, get the data factory, Synapse, and Power BI, do all the configuration between them in terms of networking, in terms of, buying the components, and also for the billing, right? So what Microsoft Fabric is right now is an umbrella that covers all those products that I just mentioned, plus few more, with a lot of enhancements. Right? I always like to make this comparison because I believe that is super easy to get and understand the concept. For many years we have, for productivity, we have the Microsoft Office solution, right? Microsoft Office, which again is an umbrella for productivity, where we have Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, right? So those are components of Microsoft Office, right? At the bottom layer of Microsoft Office, there is the storage layer, which is called OneDrive, right? In where each of the component of Microsoft Office is able to save the files, save the data, and share that data for between the components, right? Microsoft Fabric is quite similar in that sense. Why I say so? Because it's the same umbrella for data analytics instead of productivity, right? Has different component, and there is a storage layer called OneLake, right? OneLake basically will allow us to get the data, right? Store it in OneLake, right? Use it for all the projects that we may have, right? For all the scope that we may need, data warehousing, data science, data engineering, right? The one that we mentioned before, and also get the data from Power BI to build our dashboards and report, right? So OneLake is this concept of storage, similar to in this comparison, right? similar to OneDrive. Mhm. What is super interesting as well is that the original Azure Synapse Analytics had a proprietary storage format from Microsoft, right? Now, within Fabric, Microsoft is now using an open standard Delta Parquet file. That means this is the standard that is in use from many others analytics solution from different vendors, right? So it's way, way easier to integrate with other solutions. We will see, we will, dig into that point later on. But again, it's not like Microsoft just took Data Factory, Synapse, Power BI and put it within the same bag. And many many improvements, right, to again make them easily to integrate and again super affordable to get into any kind of data project, right? So one lake, right, is this storage layer that we have for Fabric. Mm. So going deeper a little bit, right, we have the applications or the project type or the approach that we can give it to our data analytic projects. We have another layer, which is serverless compute, right? It's not like Synapse anymore that we have to worry about the dedicated pool, the size of the dedicated pool, the serverless pool, etc. No, right? We have a layer that we don't worry about it is serverless compute, right? That we can use Transact SQL for data warehouse, Spark, right, for machine learning or data engineering, a KQL for custom, right, and also the analysis services engine for multidimensional for tabular models. Sorry, right. And again, the bottom layer is this common storage in Delta Parquet where we can store, create and store a data warehouse, right, a lakehouse, a CustoDB, or any kind of data set, always using the open standard Delta Parquet form. Right? Okay, so we get into Fabric, right? And Fabric is based quite hard on what initially was delivered by Power BI. So we will see that within the Fabric portal, right, we have a similar concept than what we used to have when the traditional Power BI, which is workspaces, right? In each workspace, right, we can have multiple workspaces within our Fabric configuration, and we can use a workspace, and then within the workspace we put all the components of our project, including the data set, including the data warehouse, the lakehouse, etc. Right? And as I said, we can have multiple workspaces within our Fabric configuration. So let's say every department of our company may have a set of workspaces, right? So what is also interesting in this approach in Microsoft Fabric, right, is that in all sense, right, is giving us all the necessary tools to avoid having to do data duplication, right? We know that in the on-premise world, in the legacy world, within the same organization, we can have multiple data silos in where, for example, human resources, they have the data set, sales, they use their own data set, right? Operations, they use their own, right? So they have different copies maybe of data that is common for the organization, right? But there is this, duplication and silos. With Microsoft Fabric, right, we will see a tool later on that we will help us to get one data set within any of the workspaces that we have and super easily share it with other areas, with other workspaces, right, using the concept called shortcuts, right? With shortcuts we can store our data set in our in one specific workspace for one specific project. But let's say that this data set is for operations, right? And then there is another area called customer service. So at some point they will have a list of customers, right? So instead of duplicating this data set, right, one of them may have the whole data set and share it with the other using this shortcut. And this way, we don't have to duplicate the data. That is great. This is an awesome approach because, again, the moment you duplicate the data, you have to maintain it, and most probably soon you won't have consistency between the data set, right? If it is one data set which is shared within the organization, it's way, way easier, right? But there is also another caveat here, right? And again, taking into consideration and that Microsoft Fabric now use the standard open format Delta Parquet. With this shortcut, we can also reference data which is sitting into a different cloud, into a different analytic solution, into a different data platform. What is that? Let's say that part of our company has some specific data set sitting in AWS in an S3 bucket, etc. Right? Instead of copying that data into Fabric, we can just reference that data set using a shortcut, right? So we want to be able to use it for our project, but without having to copy the data in both places, right? Same for Google, same for AWS, same for Databricks, right? So we reference the external data using this shortcut, right? And we have the availability of that data for our Fabric project. So this is really, really great. And again, trying to push on this concept of avoiding the data silos, avoiding the data duplication, right? So even if the data still is stored on different cloud provider, on a different solution, we can get access to the data set and use it to join it with our own data sets eventually. Right? So this is great. All right. In the getting into the solution itself, for the ones that we've been using Power BI, we know the portal. We know that at the left bottom side of the screen, there is the Power BI logo, right? In where we get and do everything we need. We create the workspace, etc., right? Now, if we go click that left corner, right, we will have multiple options instead of only Power BI. How is that? Okay, we said that it's a single unified analytic solution, right? So we can switch to any of these profiles: data engineering, data science, data warehousing, right, real-time analytics within the same solution. So we don't have to switch to anything else, right? We can do it within the Fabric portal, right? So super easy. We're gonna see it in action in 1 minute, right? So these experiences, right, will definitely help us to cover, I will say, most of the possibility for data analytics project. Right? We know that more or less every data-related process may have the ETL part, right, to ingest the data from the operational data store, the operational data sources, right, store it locally, right, process that data, and coming up with the output, which could be a dashboard or a report, anything related to business intelligence to take to publish and take the decisions related or based on the data that we have, right? So within Fabric nowadays we have all these approaches, right, that we mentioned, and as I said, super easy to switch from one to the other. As we get into the presentation, right, and as mentioned, these different profiles: data engineering / data scientist and data warehouse, we will see that within Fabric, we're going to be able to use both lakehouses and warehouses. And before moving forward, I always like to highlight a few points of this slide because I believe it's super important for us to understand what we are dealing with, right? So let's say that we're going to do one project, which is a traditional data warehouse, right? And another project, which is going to be for data engineering, right? So for the engineering one, we may probably need a lakehouse. And for the data warehouse, we're going to need a warehouse. What are the main differences between one and each other? First of all, we know that we can create and store both within one lake, right? Again, using the proprietary, the open format Delta Parquet, right? We don't have to worry about that. But what are the differences? First of all, in terms of volume, in both cases are unlimited, right? So it's not something that you are tied to certain amount of space. The big differences start on the type of data that we can store within each of them, right? On a warehouse, we can store structured data. And with structured data means tables with relationships, columns and rows, right? And who's going to be using this? Well, mainly a data warehouse developer or a SQL engineering. And the primary skills that we need is SQL, T-SQL, right? Transact SQL. On the other side, for a lakehouse, right, the type of data that we can store it is unstructured, semi-structured, and structured, right? And a structure could be files, any kind of files, right? Semi-structured could be, for example, files with JSON data, right? With schemaless, right? And a structure is same as a data warehouse, right? Tables with columns and rows. Who is the main user of a data warehouse? As we said, a data engineer or a data scientist, right? And the primary skill set is basically everything that is related to Spark, right? Scala, Python, R, Spark SQL, etc. Right? So those are basically the most important difference between a lakehouse on a warehouse. And we will see both of them when we reach the demo in few minutes. So again, if we dig into our solution, we have our umbrella for Fabric. We have the different components, right? For ingestion, for storing and processing, and for reporting. And for the very first time, we see a new component here called Data Activator, right? We're gonna dig into it in a second, right? So as I briefly mentioned before, this is not Data Factory, Synapse, and Power BI all together, in the same, bag, right? Microsoft is investing a lot in each of them, right? For example, first of all, the storage, right, with Delta Parquet, the shortcut, right, which was something that was not available before, right, and a bunch of new features for all the areas, right? Data engineering, for data warehousing, right? For real-time analytics, so we can easily within Fabric create our flows and do decision-making trees, right? And work in any kind of data-related project, right? And of course, when we finish and we want to present the data for the consumers to start taking decisions, right? We use Power BI. And within Power BI, I have something interesting to share with all of you, just for you to see how it's getting improved, how Microsoft is investing in this area, right? So in the, let's say, traditional Power BI that we all know, to get the data for the reports and dashboards, there are mainly two modes, right? One of them is direct query mode, and the other one is import mode. Both of them has pros and cons, right? Let's dig a little bit in each of them. For direct query mode, right, the benefit is that from the report is accessing real-time data. It's going to the source to get the data, right? The benefit is that we see the real-time data. The cons is that that process to go from Power BI to the source is normally quite slow, right? Then we have the other mode, which is import mode, which basically what Power BI does is take a snapshot of the data source, right? And then all the queries go through that snapshot, right? So the benefit is that it's way, way faster than direct query mode, right? The cons is that you are not using live data, right? But you are using this snapshot that Power BI is taking every so often, right? Within Fabric, Power BI now has this new mode called Direct Lake, which basically combines both the pros of import mode and direct query mode. So it's go to the source, in this case, in one lake, right? Without having to, with real time data and with good performance, right? So it's combined both of them, so it's way, way better. Then we have this new option called Data Activator. We will see that, beside data warehousing or data engineering, we're going to have this option to do a project based on Data Activator. So what is Data Activator? Basically, it's a no-code, low-code experience, right, to deal with different data sets, right, and generate some rules based on, actions, and generate some rules for the data that we are evaluating, and based on that rules, right, trigger an action. What does it mean? With an easy example, let's say that we have within Fabric a data source which are data streams that is coming from sensors on the fields, and every 10 seconds we have a new value, which is a value related to temperature, right? So with that, we can create a rule to check every single event, right? And create a rule saying that, okay, if we have, let's say, more than 5 consecutive cents in where the temperature is above this specific value or below this other specific value, right? Generate the trigger and raise an action, right? Which could be a Teams message, an email, a Power Automate action, or any custom activity, right? So we don't have to be sitting there just watching the stream, right? We create that rule based on any complex, situation that we may have. I just gave the example of the the temperature, right? But you can create any other complex rule and generate and trigger those actions. And again, the benefit is that it's a no-code, low-code experience similar to Power Automate. So it's easy to create this rule, right? So super, super interesting approach within Data Activate. Mhm. All right, so getting into the interesting part, right? Microsoft is all in into AI. The Microsoft approach for AI is basically Copilot, right? So Microsoft has also Copilot in Microsoft Fabric, right? We will see how we can take advantage of the AI for our data analytic project within Microsoft Fabric. Nowadays, it's still in preview, right? And depending on your setting or your configuration, the capacity for your Fabric, solution, you can start using it right now. So what can we do with Copilot in Fabric? Well, first of all, it's going to help us on writing any kind of code, right? Let's say we need to write DAX, or we need to write, Python for a machine learning project. And, we open a notebook, and, instead of just start coding, we open the Copilot window, and we start interacting in natural language, saying, okay, I need to come up with this code to do this, this, and that. So it's going to generate the code for us, right? So here there are some areas within within Copilot that can, take advantage within Microsoft Fabric, right? So always interacting in human language, we can, Copilot can help us to write Power BI reports. We will see this a little bit later. Generate DAX code, data factory pipeline to do the data ingestion, generate SQL for a warehouse project, machine learning models, or help us to generate these rules and triggers within Data Activate. Right? So super interesting, Microsoft Copilot for Fabric. All right. Another interesting announcement that is still in preview is this concept of mirroring in Microsoft Fabric, right? As a traditional data analytics projects, we know that we have this concept of ETL, right? Extraction, transformation, and load, right? So we go to the operational data every so often, once an hour, once a day, once a month, depending on our business need, right? And we go to the operational data set and we ingest it into our analytic solution, in this case, Fabric. So what is mirroring in Microsoft Fabric? It will basically allow us to seamlessly connect to our operational data store, right, and any kind of database, and get the data in near real time into Microsoft Fabric, right? What is that, and what we can do with that? And you see four, data engines in there. Azure, right now, as in preview, it is available for Azure Cosmos DB, Azure SQL DB, Snowflake, and MongoDB. As you can see, Microsoft and non-Microsoft solutions, right? And relational and not relational engines, right? So what is this seamless connect to your data, right? Let's say that we have our operational application running at the top of Azure SQL database, right? And we have our sales application, and when there is a new sales, there's going to create in a table, there's going to be a new row, just specifying the sale, the specific sale, right? In a traditional data related project, we have to wait maybe 1 hour, 2 hour, 1 day to get that row into the analytics solution. With mirroring, right, we can connect to Azure SQL DB, configure to synchronize one, two, many, or all the tables within that specific user database. And when the row is generated, inserted, updated, deleted at the operational data store, it get immediately replicated and synchronized it into Microsoft Fabric without doing anything, just connecting, right? So there is a new sale, there is a new customer. Depending on your application, in the operational side, you're going to have that data immediately within Fabric to do analytics, right? So definitely super interesting and something to pay attention in the future, right? So what I like to show you now is how to get into the first step in Fabric, how you can start and which kind of things we can do. Unfortunately, I had a problem with my presentation, and I used to have a video which is not working today, to present also Copilot in Power BI, right? Basically, this is something that Microsoft is, putting a lot of efforts to help us to use Copilot in Power BI. So what we can do with Copilot in Power BI? Basically, we can do two different things. First of all, it can help us to write, to get some visuals, right, for the report that we are working on. And always, again, with this concept of interacting with natural language, right? So say, help me generate a report with the, customers for the last month, right? And it's going to come up with a visual, right? So, the whole developing part of a report is way easier, same as writing DAX code or Spark code, right? But help us to write our visuals, our report. But there is also another possibility of Copilot in Power BI, right? We can interact directly in natural language with the model, right? So even if we don't have a visual created, right, we can ask Copilot, can you compare or please provide me a comparison of the sales for this specific product, right? And compare it, with the previous quarter, right? Give me the top 10 customer in terms of sales for the last 6 months, right? So even if there is no visual defined, the end user can interact with Copilot, right? Just interacting in natural language, asking questions about, the business actually, right? And right away, it's going to come up with a visual, right, to get this data in front of us, right? So super easy. In the video, there is this phrase, get insights from your data in no time, right? So you're going to be basically talking and dialoguing with your data, and that is great, right? Again, it's still in preview, right? There are things to be adjusted, but super interesting to be able to use this feature. So let's go for a demo. Let's see Microsoft Fabric in action, right? So let me jump a little bit to my virtual machine. Here I have a virtual machine. I am connected into my Fabric portal. As you can see here at the top, there is a 15 days trial. Well, I mean, I have 15 days trial, but Microsoft offers to everybody, right, with no cost, right, a 60 days trial of Microsoft Fabric, right? So if you have a 365 account, you can, jump into app.fabric.com or aka.ms/fabric. We're going to share all those links later on. And you can sign for the trial, right? And again, you can do your proof of concept, your validation. You can get your own data. You can, create this a project and validate it super easily and for free. Mm-hmm. So I got into my portal, right? And here I have all the different options for my project, right? So to start with, I will go to data warehouse, right? And what you will notice here is that it won't be necessary to get out of this specific page or this specific tab, right? Everything that we do is going to happen in here. So I have all my workspaces, all the components that I've been working on. So I will go here to workspaces, right? And I will create a new workspace, right? And I will call it Fabric Cafe, right? Then, we can put the description for our workspace. We can even upload an image, so we have an additional reference. And then we go to advanced, and here is where we have to specify the licensing mode, right? There is this the fabric capacity, the ones that we can buy and pay per month, etc. Or in this case, I'm still using the trial, so I will take advantage of the trial. So I hit apply, and I have my brand new Fabric Cafe workspace, which of course is completely empty. There is nothing, right? So what we can do here, let's start working on it. So I go to new, and here we have all the things that we can set up and create within our workspace. So to start with, I will go to a warehouse, right? So I will go to warehouse here, and the only thing we have to do is just specify a name. Let's call it Fabric Cafe Warehouse 001, right? And in a matter of few seconds, right, we're going to have a brand new empty warehouse, and uh, the interface is adjusting to work with a data warehouse project. For example, you see here we have schemas. Within the schemas, we can have tables, right? And we have new SQL queries, so we can get data directly from here, right? We will get into this part in a minute. But now I will go back to the root of my new workspace called Fabric Cafe, and we see now the component called warehouse. I will go to new again, and I will create a layhouse also, right? So for the layhouse, I have to provide a name as well, Fabric Cafe Layhouse 001, right? And again, as you can see here, in few seconds, we have a brand new layhouse empty, and now the interface is adjusting to data science or machine learning project, right? So we don't have SQL here anymore. Now we can open a notebook, right, and work with Spark, Python, R, whatever language we can use, right? So this is completely empty, and we have tables and files. Remember, in a lakehouse, we can store relational, non-relational, semi-structured data in here. So going back to my workspace, we have the lakehouse, we have the warehouse. So now we have to start ingesting data into our solution, right? So I will go here to new item, right? I will go to data pipeline, right? I will name the pipeline 1, as it is suggested here. So with here, we're going to connect to our data source in order to get data into Microsoft Fabric, right? So we're going to use this assistant here called Copy Data Assistant, right? So we hit here, and basically what we need to do is choose the source and see if we want to do any transformation, and then select destination, right? As you can see here, we have available multiple data sources, right? SQL Server, Oracle, MySQL, IBM DB2, Snowflake, SAP HANA, Dataverse, SharePoint, Salesforce, files within an FTP or FTP, a SQL Server on Amazon RDS, Cosmos DB, Dynamics. So almost everything we need, right? And again, remember, this is a SaaS solution, so we don't need to install anything, not ODBC driver, no, nothing. Everything we need here, right, to connect to these data sources is already available, right? In order to go to this demo, what we're going to use here is the sample data, right? And Microsoft is providing us with several data sets to test the ingestion part and Fabric. So we have data sets stored in different formats, CSV, JSON, or Parquet, for COVID data, for New York taxis, diabetes, and public holidays, right? I will go to COVID, right? I will use the Parquet option, which is more effective. And we see that there are basically four sets, right? Four tables, right? We have being COVID-19, COVID tracking, European Center, and Oxford COVID-19. So these are different data sets. What we can do here in Fabric, we have a small preview here, all the columns and the initial rows. So we hit next. So we just select the source. We have to choose the destination, right? In this case, we can create a new warehouse, but we can also use, one second, what is my virtual machine? Here. We can also choose one of the existing one. So I will go to my warehouse that we create already. So we have two options, right? Or load it into an existing table, right? But remember, this is a brand new warehouse, so it's empty, or load it to a new table, right? So I will call it, this is the warehouse, so I have to specify the schema, DBO, right? And the table name, let's call it COVID-19 data. And here we have all the columns, the data types, right? And the column names. So eventually we can change the column name and the data types if we want. And eventually we can even, skip some of the columns or whatever we want to do, right? So we hit next. And what we have here is a summary, right, of the data source, which is the sample data set, at the destination, which is our warehouse. So we hit save and run, right? And when we do that, we have the pipeline already created that, it's going to start running in a second, and we can reuse it as many times as we need, right? So now, as you can see here, is queued, right? In a minute, it's going to move to processing or in process, right? And then in few seconds, it will tell us that it's completed, right? So I see some messages here that the audio is not okay. Can you confirm, Sina, if the audio is fine? I'm not sure if there is a problem with the audio or anything, right? I will move on just in case, but let me know if
Yes, the audio is fine. Everything is
the audio
fine.
is fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see here. I stop a second for the comments, and I see that somebody was saying that there was no audio. But okay,
No, keep going.
Thank you so much. I will take the pause to take some water. So, okay, it just finished and succeed, right? So we ingest the data into our data warehouse. So now I will go to the warehouse, and what we should see here is now my new table, right? Here, COVID-19 data, and we're gonna have a preview in here, right? So we're gonna get some rows. Then we can do, new SQL query, or we can get here the three dots and do the select top 100. And what we have here is a T-SQL editor in where we can, create our SQL queries and work within our data warehouse, right? This case, again, super simple. It's just one table that we imported from the sample data set, right? So if we go to the warehouse, right? Sorry, to the lake house, Again, we can import data with a pipeline, or we can do something different, right? If I go here to files, right, I put here upload files. I can go to my local machine, right, and get, any CSV, JSON, or Parquet file that I have, and I can upload it into the lakehouse, right? This is a CSV file that it's going to take some time. Okay, now the file is upload, right? Again, remember, the file is in my local computer. I just upload it into the file section of my warehouse. Oh, sorry, my lakehouse. Right, so let's see it in action. Here is the file. So if we hit at the top of it, we're gonna have a preview of the CSV file with all the values, etc. So going back to files, I can go here to these three dots and set load to tables, right? So we do load to tables, right? New table. I have to specify the name with, the with no dashes, for example, right? That's the problem here. So I'm gonna remove the dashes and we'll call it effect of COVID. We tell here that the first row contains the column names and the separators is a comma. So we hit load, right? And what we have in a matter of seconds is the file, the CSV file, loaded into a table within the warehouse, right? And again, same as we did for the data warehouse, we can open a notebook, right, and start using Spark to work with that file. So again, that CSV file that we had before now is a table within our warehouse, right? So again, super easy. We just create a data warehouse. We create it as a summary. We create the warehouse. We create a lakehouse within a new workspace. We ingest data from a sample data source, which again is a sample data source, but we can also choose our own Azure SQL, our SQL Server, Oracle, any other database engine, and ingest the data into the either the warehouse or the lakehouse, and then we can work directly with Spark, with a notebook, or with the T-SQL. And again, we switch from one to the other, and we have all the data we need, right? What is interesting here that I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to show you is that if you go to the setting part, not here, I can go to the warehouse. And when I go to the warehouse, I go here to the settings part, and I have here SQL connection string, and I have the whole connection string that I can copy here to the clipboard, right? Yeah, unfortunately, I won't be able to do it, but using this connection string, you can connect your application directly to your warehouse and lakehouse, right? So let's say that we have SQL Server Management Studio, right? We can open SQL Server Management Studio. We can connect to this server, right, to this connection using this connection string, or we can connect an external tool, Azure Data Studio. We can create any client tool, any reporting tool, etc. This is our connection string, right? And then with the proper security, username, password, or in this case, a user within the entry ID, right? We connect and we see the data. What is super interesting is that, for example, if you prefer to do your T-SQL development using Management Studio, you can connect to SQL Server using this string, and what you will see there is, for this specific workspace that we created, Fabric Cafe, right? You can see all the warehouses and lakehouses, right? And this is cross database. So meaning that in the warehouse, you can do a join of a table that is sitting in your warehouse with a table that is sitting in your lakehouse, right? For example, the COVID one that I have in the warehouse, doing a join with the table that is called effect of COVID, which is sitting in the lakehouse. So it's cross database, right? So for any kind of select statement, you can run it this way. So super powerful, right? Okay, so briefly, I tried to cover the ingestion part, right? The creation of a warehouse and lakehouse, and a few things that you can do within Fabric. So let's move on to the presentation, right? So to start wrapping up, here I have several URLs, several links to share. Right? As you know, Microsoft is pushing hard in Fabric, and with that, in everything that is related to documentation, learning materials, videos, webinars, ebooks, etc., etc., etc. And Microsoft Learn definitely is one of them, right? The starting point is always aka.ms/fabric. And from there, you can jump into several resources for you to start to get deeper into Fabric. For example, there is the Cloud Skill Challenge, right? That will have several modules online in Microsoft Learn that will help you to go through every single area of Fabric, Lakehouse, Warehouse, uh, you know, uh, Spark, SQL, Data Activator, Power BI. You're going to do the training, you're going to do the labs, and then you will have, some questions to answer to get your module complete, right? And when you complete the whole Cloud Skill Challenge, you're going to get a discount for the exam for the certification DP 600, right? That's the one that is the for Fabric, right? It's brand new. And again, all the material available here is basically helping you to get in touch into Fabric, but at the same time prepare yourself for this certification, right? Also within Microsoft Learn, Microsoft has presented this Learn Together series, Fabric edition, right, in multiple languages, right, with 9 different modules, right, that covered all these topics that you can see here in the slide, right, from the getting started with Apache Spark, pipeline, data flows Gen 2, right? Organize Fabric Lakehouse using Medallion architecture, and also the last one, administer Microsoft Fabric for the whole, administration part, right? These are these modules that were recorded at the beginning of the year, as I said, in multiple languages, right? I had the pleasure of participating in multiple of them in English, in Spanish as well. They are all available in Microsoft Learn, in YouTube, right? They were so popular. A lot of people showing live, right, during this event. So it was really nice experience to deliver the Learn Together Microsoft Fabric, right? There is also this site, which is the Fabric Career Hub, right, in where Microsoft has interviews with MVPs, with industry expert. It has also solution use cases, examples, everything that you need to start nowadays with your Fabric journey, right? And as I said, within the Career Hub, it's also helping you to eventually get certified in Microsoft Fabric. It's going to give you all the possibilities, as we mentioned, the Cloud Skill Challenges, the Learn Together modules that are available for you to watch. There are exam simulation, exam cramps, and also, there are sessions specifically with tips and tricks on how to pass the exam. So definitely everything that you want is available to consume, and then eventually schedule the exam, right? So that's mainly all I have, right? In a matter of 1 hour, I try to cover end to end super fast in some areas, right? Try to understand what this new unified end to end analytic solution is, right? It's definitely a big deal, right? So if you are into data analytics, definitely make sure that you join the 60-day trials. You try to validate your project there, and definitely eventually move on into fabric experience, right? And with that, we just conclude the presentation. I just want to thank again the Microsoft Cafe community. Sina, thank you so much for having me. I'm not sure if there are questions. I'm going to check the panel right now. Once again, you have my contact information in here, so feel free to reach me in case you have additional questions. Mhm.
Thank you so much, Javier. Thank you so much for today's amazing and valuable information.
Mm.
We've learned
Mhm.
a lot, actually. Really appreciate you and your time. Uh, and also about the questions.
I see here one question, right?
Oh, you can.
Which is the best approach for medallion architecture? Could be three workspaces and and lake houses for bronze, and a silver and a DW in a shared workspace for gold. Well, there is no best approach, right? The approach is depending on your needs, right? One of them is definitely the one that you are referencing, Federico. Is an option. You can also have one workspace in where you can have three different lake houses and one warehouse. You can have a landing zone in a specific workspace for your bronze area, then jump directly to to the warehouse in the silver. So again, it's not the right answer for this. The one that you are mentioning definitely is one option, right? Um, my suggestion is go to the Microsoft Learn page, look for the Learn Together Microsoft Fabric sessions, and there is one specifically on medallion architecture using Microsoft Fabric. And over there, the expert that delivered the presentation back in the days definitely covered as much as possible. But as I said, there is no one solution to fit all.
Perfect. Thank you. And there's also another questions. I'm just gonna show that one. So, what does DMT mean in this slide? So,
DMT, can you give me more details on DMT?
uh, in your slide that you shared with us.
Uh, Maybe the one who asked can give me
Yeah.
more detail in which context?
Yes. From Natarajan asked us about DMT. So we can wait for Natarajan to give us more maybe detail.
DMT,
I can add your slide. Maybe you can find it.
DMT. I don't know in which context he's saying DMT. I don't know if it is in the last part of the, documentation or what. Definitely doesn't ring the bell.
Oh yeah, sure. So uh, maybe Natarajan can reach out to you about the question for sure.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yes. Mhm.
So now we have interesting part, which is riddle, and we're gonna see who is our today's winner. So let me just add my slide again. So thank you, Javier, again for today.
Sure,
Really
it was
appreciate it.
my pleasure, and happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for making your time. So and about the riddle. So before going to the riddle part, just wanna uh, give you a quick reminder. So we just accept those answers on just StreamYard, nowhere else, like YouTube or LinkedIn. So, guys, just make sure that switch your platform to the StreamYard for participating in this part. So, and the riddle is that I connect, transform, and prepare the way for data to shine every day. In SQL and beyond, I wave the strings, and what am I called in these new wings? So let's wait for people to answer. And was whoever answers first is gonna be, of course, our winner today. Winner, the exam watcher. So from Adrian and ET, data flow, ETO, run again, one pipeline.
I guess I'm not allowed to answer, right?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Come on, there is a keyword here.
Yeah.
We made a lot of emphasis in that acronym, actually, uh, uh, quite extensively.
So so no answer so far. Um, let's show the right answer. The answer is data engineering. So we just had ET, data flow, pipeline. There's one, another one, which is data lake. So uh, it seems we don't have it. So, okay, let's move on to the this slide. So this month, September, we've got 4 session. Actually, we've already done with 3 of those, and today was with Javier, which was amazing. Thank you again. So, if you guys miss today's session or all previous sessions, and if you join late, you can go to our social platform for rewatching. So don't worry about it. And actually, today's session will be available on our social platform right after ending the session. And for the upcoming one with James, the registration link, as I mentioned earlier, announced on our LinkedIn page. You can register there and mark your calendar, which is gonna be the next Saturday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Um, just gonna wrap up the session real quick. So thanks for attending, guys. Today's session, uh, and which was really amazing. So uh, as you can see, we have our social platform here: YouTube, LinkedIn, and Microsoft Learning Room. Just make sure follow them, and whoever passed the exam, just share with us and celebrate together. Mention Microsoft Fabric Cafe, mention Javier, and to actually grow all together. So, and let me just remove this one. So, is there anything that you share, Javier? Please go ahead.
No, I mean, I really hope everybody enjoyed the presentation. I know that it's a lot of content in a short period of time, and I try to deliver as quickly as possible. But the idea was, just for you to have this quick introduction, and well, definitely looking forward to have all of you getting into Fabric soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So, if you guys have any question, just reach out to uh, me, Microsoft Fabric Cafe, Javier. Uh, Feel free. So, and thank you again. Thank you guys again for attending today's session. So, until next week and next Saturday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. So, have a good weekend. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.